Hello. There are a lot of videos out here on YouTube that seem to imply a bucket strategy is a one size fits all proposition. This one size fits all strategy is usually made up of three buckets with varying levels of investment risk. There's usually a cash bucket containing 1 to 2 years of expenses, an income bucket containing 3 to 7 years of expenses, and a growth bucket containing 8+ years of expenses. But should your bucket strategy look the same at 55 as it does at 65, as it does at 75? That is the question we'll be digging into today. But first, welcome. If this is your first time to this channel, I'm Art, and this channel is dedicated to appreciating the artful uniqueness of each person's retirement experience. Now, an important thing to remember about a bucket strategy is it's just a metaphor to describe how you think about your finances. There are no real buckets, and there is no hard and fast definition of what a bucket should be. So when you say bucket strategy, a bucket can be whatever you want it to be. It should represent the way you want to organize your financial resources. And in some ways, it can even help you drive how you manage your investments. Today, I'm going to talk about my bucket strategy and why it works for me as a 70-year-old retiree. Following my keep it simple senior philosophy, I've developed a three-bucket strategy that makes the most sense for me, and it takes away my will I run out of money stress. So let's bring up the old Etch-a-Sketch, and I'll walk you through how I think about buckets, and we'll see if it might help you organize yours. The core component to my bucket strategy is my bucket one. That is what I call my everyday bucket. It's where the income comes in and the expenses go out. In my case, the income is simply my wife's and my Social Security payments. And why this bucket is so critical to my strategy is that our Social Security brings in more income than our fixed expenses. That's because we're debt free. We've lived in the same house for 40 years, so we have no mortgage, we have no car payment, and we've lived well below our means for years, so we have no consumer debt. If you can get yourself into that situation, it'll go a long way into reducing the will I run out of money stress. Now, bucket one also has our emergency fund. We have that deposited in a money market account. That allows us to take advantage of better interest rate, and it provides quick access when needed. We have enough in that fund to cover a new furnace, or air conditioning, or significant car repair, or that occasional great travel deal that might come along. This means we don't have to go to bucket two or three to cover any unexpected expenses. Now on to bucket two. This is what I call my investment cushion. Its sole purpose is to keep me from having to pull funds from our growth investments in the event the stock market is down for a significant length of time. If I have a need and the market is strong, I just pull the money from my bucket three. The cushion money is in fixed return investments, which happens to be CDs at the moment. We have this money split into two investment blocks. The first is a long-term investment, which provides us access to the money annually. The second is a shorter-term investment, which provides us access to the money every 3 to 6 months, depending on the term of that investment. The reason I split it this way is to allow me access at least to some of the funds fairly quickly if needed, like maybe a great travel deal comes along. Now on to bucket three, which is what you would expect it to be. This is my growth bucket. And as you might guess, it's largely made up of equities, with about 20% being in individual stocks and brokerage accounts, and about 60% is in a couple of different standard IRAs, which mostly consists of targeted retirement mutual funds. And the final 20% is in Roth accounts and is invested in more aggressive stock funds. The current split between cushion and growth is about 80% to 12%, which may seem a little risky, but remember, My 60% investments in my standard IRAs are those more conservative, targeted retirement funds. Also, remember that my everyday bucket easily covers all my fixed expenses. We do not need any of that money to live on. And that means my cushion and my growth buckets are 100% available for discretionary spending. Now, that being said, I certainly don't want to run it dry because I do want to have money available for anticipated large future expenses like replacing a car or for travel or long-term care or for legacy considerations. So that's it. That is my basic bucket strategy.
All right, then. Wrapping this up, I have two final points. My main focus at the moment is on my growth bucket and that 60% number in the IRA category. My goal is in the next few years to drastically reduce that 60% number and move that money over to the Roth accounts while minimizing the tax impact. And that, of course, is in line with my legacy strategy and trying to avoid the widow's and/or inheritance tax bomb. And secondly, as the growth bucket grows, that money is pulled out and pushed over to either the cushion bucket for safekeeping or put into the emergency fund over in my everyday bucket, or, in some cases, applied to another item on my travel bucket list. Well, I hope this discussion has been helpful for you in some way. If so, please click the like button and definitely consider subscribing so you can be made aware of future videos. Not to mention, it'll bring the channel closer to that 1,000 subscriber goal I'm shooting for. And as always, remember, there is art in every retirement. Be blessed.